Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 846 for the 22nd of December, 2024. Richard Saunders coming to you from the Skeptic Zone studios here in Sydney, Australia, where I am delighted to say the weather has cooled down a bit. It's a cloudy day and a bit cooler. Thank goodness it was quite roasting over the past couple of weeks. And this cloud cover means I can't look at the moon, because our first story today is all about new moon superstitions. The Secretary of Australian Skeptics, Lara Benham, dropped by the Skeptic Zone studios. We ended up in the green room to chat about new moon superstitions. And we are joined by Henrietta and Maud, the Skeptic Zone cats, who somehow found their way in. And this includes a clip from our friend Kenny Biddle, who was interviewing Margaret Downey about various superstitions. And in fact, I'll link to this clip in the show notes. This is the same show Lara was on last week, where she broke a mirror. I wonder how her luck has been faring ever since then. New Moon Superstitions with Lara Benham, Henrietta and Maud, the Skeptic Zone cats, coming up at the top of the show. Then we have a report about the recent trip to the Antarctic by flat earthers and globe earthers, and the fallout. And I've entitled this story, Flat Earthers Fall Flat in the Antarctic. They live-streamed the 24-hour sun. But will the majority of the Flat Earth community accept this evidence from the South Pole, from the Antarctic? What do you think? Then we have the Australian Skeptics newsletter, read once again by Adrienne Hill and written by Tim Mendham. What's happening in the wider world of skeptical news. Following that, I report from the pages of the latest issue of the Skeptic magazine, my short report about testing psychic claimants, especially in Las Vegas. And this is part of a wider report written by Tim Mendham. And it's to whet your appetite to hopefully subscribe to the magazine itself and read much more. Then to round off the show, back to the TROVE Archives, where once again we look at new moon superstitions as reported in newspapers going back over many, many decades. A big shout out to all my wonderful teacher friends who are now happily on vacation. Well-deserved. Teachers do a wonderful job and they don't get paid enough. They certainly don't. A special shout out to my friends, the teachers. Well, now it's time for me to... Oh, what's that? Yes, it's that time of the year. Okay, so maybe it's time for me to run downstairs and have some Christmas food already. I don't know what that is exactly. Maybe some... Oh, to hell with it. I'll just have some chocolate cookies while I do that. I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. Now, as reported on last week's episode of the Skeptic Zone, my friend Lara Benham, who's also the Secretary of the Australian Skeptics here in Sydney, appeared on Kenny Biddle, the Kenny Biddle live stream, where, hello Lara.
Hello.
You broke a mirror.
I did break a mirror. Hello Kitty mirror.
A Hello Kitty mirror?
Yes.
Yes. And why did you do that?
It was a live stream going out on Friday the 13th about Frigga, Triska, Decaphobia.
In other words, fear of 13.
No, specifically Friday the 13th.
The 13th. Oh,
yeah. I think triskaidekaphobia is fear of the number 13.
Right.
So he had a live stream all about different superstitions, and they were looking for somebody prepared to break a mirror live on the stream.
which you ran out, you bought a mirror just to break it.
I did. Yes, I did. It was fun.
It looked fun. Now, I linked to this in last week's show notes, but I'll do it again for this week's show notes, because after that, one of your questions came up, and let me just play that part of the show now.
Lara, my father believed it was bad luck to see the new moon first through glass. Oh, he would go outside without his glasses on to view it before accidentally seeing it through glass. Heard of that one?
I've been collecting superstitions that are handed down through the family. That's a good one. I hadn't heard of that one before. I knew about the moon and, nightmares and all that stuff, but no, this is good. I like to collect these little stories. I think they're interesting.
I'm looking it up to see, that's amazing. All right, so it says here, according to superstition, yes, viewing the moon through glass, particularly the new moon, is considered bad luck in many cultures, with the belief that seeing it directly is the best way to receive its positive energy. This is especially prevalent in Irish folklore. That was a good one. I learned something new.
So, telescopes, the use of telescopes. You can't look at the new moon through a telescope?
Yeah.
You can't look at it first.
At first. You have to look at it to get its positive energy
Through your
naked eye. I guess like if you don't get that positive energy. Reasoning behind the belief. Some interpretations suggest that viewing the moon through a barrier like glass symbolizes a disconnect from its power or lack of direct connection with its energy.
So, Lara, let me get back to this, because you told me this the other day, and it's something I'd never heard of, and we're going to be looking at this again in Trove later on in this episode. And this is something that your father was superstitious about.
I didn't have a particularly skeptical upbringing, and both my parents had quite a lot of superstitions. My dad probably quite a few more than my mother. So I was brought up with quite a few weird beliefs and things that I should and shouldn't do. And my dad had many superstitions, and the one I remember quite clearly was not looking at the new moon through glass for the first time.
So this superstition revolves around, if you realise there's a new moon, you have to see it with the naked eye.
Yeah, so he would go out of his way to make sure that he took his glasses off and saw it first through with the naked eye, so that he didn't accidentally see it through glass, which he believed was bad luck. Wow. I never asked him what the bad luck was, but that was just something which I grew up knowing was true.
You told me this the other day, and I must admit I had never heard about it. And the new moon's not always easy to see, because you're not always aware it's there, and even if it's up there, you might not even notice it. Now, of course, the new moon is when the moon is really between the sun and the earth, and the sun's rays are hitting the other side to us, so to speak, as opposed to the moon being on the other side of the earth where we can see the full moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't always see it.
No. This is what I'm saying. He really did go out of his way to make sure he could find it first, so that he didn't get this bad luck.
Now, Maud, the Skeptic Zone, yes? She's obviously has something to say about moons and superstitions. That's her superstition, is to scratch her cat post or her little lounge there. Yes, the Skeptic Zone cats are invading our recording session. That's all right.
So I suppose there probably were times when my dad would have got it wrong and would have accidentally caught the new moon first through glass. And then, I mean, who knows where the time limit is on this? Is it a month that you get of bad luck? So anything that would have gone slightly wrong then in the subsequent days would have been attributed to that.
Well, haven't you been attributing all the bad luck that you've had in the last few days to breaking that mirror?
Yes, almost jokingly. And I'm seriously tempted to start keeping a list of all the bad things that happen, whilst also keeping a list simultaneously of all the good things that are happening, just to make a point, really.
We can glue the mirror back together, maybe.
Oh, maybe that works, yeah.
But again, this is a new one to me.
Yeah.
I mean, there must be thousands of superstitions. She's at it again. There must be thousands of superstitions that have now just gone the way of the dodo, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was one of the hardest things for me. I've probably mentioned this before, but going from having a lot of very pseudoscientific beliefs to being a full skeptic, I think one of the hardest things was getting rid of those superstitions. Like, I did not find it 100% easy breaking that mirror the other day, because I can physically do things. I can physically stop myself from doing things that in the past I thought would bring me bad luck. But there is still this tiny piece of my brain that thinks that maybe that is tempting fate.
Yeah.
It's still there.
When I was a kid, it was stepping on the cracks in the pavement or the footpath or the sidewalk. But in this day and age, I don't know, maybe you're the same folks around the world. Those old superstitions you'd hear from your mum and your dad or your grandparents, they seem to be really disappearing. I mean, you were telling me earlier that knock on wood or touch wood is around, but four-leaf clover, your students haven't really heard of that one?
I have no idea. I just, at school, at work, I still, if I'm having conversations with people, I still find people a lot will say something and then they'll say touch wood, and they will actively seek out some wood to touch, which... Yeah, I reckon that's probably the one I come across most often, but I don't know how much they are doing that just as a kind of force of habit, rather than actually believing that it will actually do something.
Well, I think in my grandparents' generations, people would, if they spilt salt, would throw it over their shoulder.
Yeah.
But that's surely now, that's hardly ever even known about.
I haven't seen anybody do that. I think throwing salt over your shoulder is a way that some people get over. I'm sure I read that in order to stop the bad luck from certain things, like breaking mirrors, you have to throw salt over your shoulder. So then doesn't that just cause problems with spilling it? I don't know.
Well, it causes problem to the person standing over your shoulder to get a face full of salt.
Unless they've got some chips and they're trying to season it. Maybe they want the salt. I don't know.
Maybe that's right. Folks, I'd be interested to know, and you can leave comments on the Facebook page of this episode of the Skeptic Zone, whether superstitions are a lot like touching wood or the salt over the shoulder. You know what? I'm struggling to think of many more. I really am, because it's just not part of... And I'm struggling to think of more. I've got a couple more
from childhood that I remember. I don't know where they came from. I think they came from friends. One was to do with magpies. And I feel like in Australia that would be so hard because I see a lot more magpies over here. But I seem to remember seeing one magpie on its own, this is what one of my friends told me at school, was bad luck. Seeing two magpies was good luck. So if you see one, you have to say, "Good morning, Mr. Magpie." I am not making this up. And I went through many years of doing that. And then there was another one relating to those sort of, I'm showing a bit of stupidity here, but those square things on the pavement, like the manhole covers, but the square ones. Like maybe they're
like utility covers or something. Yeah.
And they always appeared in stacks. There was like either two of them or three of them.
Yeah.
And again, I can't remember which way round it was, but walking across two of them or three of them in a row, one of those was good luck and one of them was bad luck. And if you did the bad luck one, you had to like walk backwards across them or some nonsense. And I did these things.
Yeah.
I did these things.
The other one that's just come to mind now is, of course, the black cat crossing your path. But I think that must be common in many cultures.
I would consider that extremely good luck.
Yes.
I love the cats.
Good luck or bad luck, you decide. Again, if you have a superstition we've never heard about, you can leave a comment on the Facebook page of the Skeptic Zone. Well, thank you, Lara, and I hope the rest of your day brings you good luck.
You too, Richard.
This is James Randi, and you're listening to The Skeptic Zone.
Earlier in this past week, a remarkable event took place in the Antarctic. And this was to bring flat Earth believers and people who accept the model of the globe as the Earth, bring them to the Antarctic, where they would observe a 24-hour sun, which, according to probably most ardent flat Earth believers, would be impossible. On the flat Earth model, the sun sort of skims around the disk and cannot be in the sky for 24 hours in the Antarctic, which they believe is on the rim, the ice wall on the circumference of the flat Earth. Now, of course, no spoilers here. What they discovered when they went there in the past week was that indeed there is a 24-hour sun at this time of the year in the Antarctic. But, shall we say, hilarity has ensued in the flat Earth community, who are going bonkers. Let me quote to you from a story which was published at news.com.au. But this story has been picked up by many media outlets around the world. And the headline is, "Sometimes you are wrong. Flat Earthers admit defeat after seeing 24-hour Antarctica sun." A group of popular flat Earth YouTubers have admitted defeat against the Globers after taking a trip to Antarctica to witness the 24-hour sun. Colorado pastor Will Duffy organized the highly anticipated December 14 trip, dubbed the Final Experiment, which brought together 4 flat earthers and 4 globe earthers in an attempt to settle the debate once and for all. Well, of course, as we'll see, it could do no such thing. It would have no chance of doing anything like settling the debate. That's not how these things work. I'll get to that soon. Flat earthers have long maintained that the Antarctica holds the key to proving the Earth is flat. In summer, due to the tilt of the Earth, the sun does not set over much of the continent. In the flat Earth view of the world, Antarctica is actually an ice wall that encircles the other continents and holds the oceans. If that view were correct, the sun must rise and set each day, even in Antarctica, and could never circle in the sky all 24 hours. Quote, "All right, guys, sometimes you are wrong in life," end quote. Jaron Campanella from the YouTube channel Jeronism told viewers on the midnight live stream from Union Glacier Camp and 4.5 hours south from Punta Arenas, Chile. Quote, "And I thought there was no 24-hour sun. In fact, I was pretty sure of it," end quote. It goes on to say no flat earthers have ever been to Antarctica. A popular conspiracy theory was that the Antarctic Treaty of 1959 prevented them from going, specifically in summer, lest they discover the truth. And here is a short clip from that adventure.
All right, guys. Sometimes you are wrong in life. And I thought that there was no 24-hour sun. In fact, I was pretty sure of it. But I respect Will Duffy for being a stand-up guy, at least in the way that he kept saying it was true. I kept saying it wasn't. He said, "You want to go? I'll take you," and brought me here. And it's a fact. The sun does circle you in the south.
As I said before, I think this adventure won't really resolve much, but I think it's an important thing to do, and I'm glad it was done. But if we look at the flat earthers, the people on YouTube or TikTok or other places like that, I think broadly they are split into 2 categories. One are the people making a lot of money out of being flat earthers, and who knows what they truly believe. It's a business. It's like faith healers. You know, many faith healers simply know it's a con. They just keep doing it because it's a business. So I suspect there are some flat earthers out there who just have a successful YouTube channel, get lots of attention, lots of income, so that's the line they peddle. And there are the group who are sincere. They really do believe the Earth is flat regardless. They live in echo chambers. They've been convinced by crummy science and charismatic people and conspiracy theories. And so here are just some of the comebacks to this remarkable adventure. This is some of the comments left on various websites, various comments from people either having a bit of fun or sincerely, still sincerely believe in the flat Earth. I will link to a video in this week's show notes of a wonderful 360 time lapse, which follows the 24-hour sun in the Antarctic made on this trip. And some of the comments coming back are, well, it was obviously all faked because it's a green screen. They weren't really there. It's in a studio. It's a green screen. The flat earthers who went and admitted they were wrong are obviously shills. They weren't sincere in the first place, or they've been paid off, or whatever. Here's another one. They were clones. They weren't the real flat earthers. They were clones of flat earthers who lied. Okay. The shadows are wrong. In the 360-degree 24-hour video time lapse, you can tell it's all fake because the shadows don't match up. Another one. They cannot be in the Antarctic because they do not allow people to go there. It's still a commonly held conspiracy theory that you actually can't go to the Antarctic because you'll be shot or something like that, or there'll be warships in your way to send you back. Another one was the whole thing was faked by NASA. A lot of people think that NASA fake a lot of things. Here's one. It's not the real sun. It's a sun from the other lands. Okay. It's a reverse reflection of the sky. Figure that one out. Another one here. It's the sun reflecting off the dome. Or the sun reflected off the atmosphere. And these will keep coming. These will keep coming. As I said, the truly deluded people out there who adhere to the flat earth model won't accept this experiment. Maybe some will, you know, we can be hopeful. Maybe some will, but this is something that science can use for, decades to come, I imagine, pointing out this. But of course, the true believers in generally what we find in the skeptical realms when we talk about true believers, they have truly closed minds. In fact, it's a point I bring up many times in the media. The closed-minded people are the true believers. The skeptics have open minds and are willing to accept new information and new evidence, provided that it's good evidence. And many people can't accept that or can't comprehend that, because in the popular imagination, skeptics are closed-minded and believers are open-minded. The final experiment. Now, you will see more about this, especially if you watch such YouTube channels as Sci-Man-Dan, who has for years had regular debunkings of flat Earth documentaries and flat Earth videos. But I'm sure you'll see it in other quarters as well. A trip to the Antarctic in summer. Well, any excuse would do. My good friend Professor Paul Willis has often been to the Antarctic on various scientific adventures, and I never forget the time he came back and told me that he was there and walking around and discovered a fossilized plesiosaur. Quite amazing. And again, I will link to the various items of interest from this story in this week's show notes.
You've probably heard the saying, knowledge is power. While that's true, there's just too much to know. Plus, we carry access to nearly all of humanity's knowledge in our pockets. Unfortunately, there's also a lot of misinformation out there. Conspiracy theories, propaganda, pseudoscience, science denial, all of which are effective because they appeal to our biases and emotions. As Richard Feynman reminded us, no one can fool us like we can. Protecting yourself from misinformation requires better thinking. When you need reliable information, do you know where to find it and how to use it to make wise decisions? And importantly, are you aware of the thinking errors that might cause you to fall for misleading information? The bottom line is knowledge is not enough. Thinking is power. I'm science educator and communicator Melanie Teresa King. Please visit thinkingispower.com to learn more about critical thinking, information literacy, and science literacy skills. Educators can find useful and engaging course materials and assignments for their students. And for a daily-ish dose of better thinking, follow Thinking is Power on X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Hello everyone, this is Adrienne Hill from Skookum Studios in Calgary, Canada. And I'm here to read the highlights from the Australian Skeptics newsletter. This is newsletter number 212. Ooh, palindromic number. Don't forget you can sign up to this newsletter at skeptics.com.au and get the full report, complete with all the links every other week, right into your inbox. But let's see what Tim Mendham has for us this week. Hi y'all, says Tim. Festive season is upon us, so greetings to everyone for whatever religious and non-religious holidays you can name or adhere to. This will be the last newsletter for 2024, but we'll be back early in 2025 for more exciting adventures of serial offenders Geller and Brocard. Ho, ho, ho. Read on, Tim. Okay, Tim. I will do just that. Influencers selling fake cures for polycystic ovary syndrome. This is a UK story on medically unqualified influencers, many with more than 1 million followers, exploiting the absence of an easy medical solution for PCOS by posing as experts and selling fake cures. Mitch McConnell criticizes RFK Jr. U.S. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, himself a polio sufferer, has publicly weighed in on the nomination process, warning RFK Jr. to steer clear of dangerous polio anti-vaccine claims. Vaccination rates among Australian teens are dropping. Overall, in 2023, around 1 in 4 18-year-olds hadn't received all 3 of the nationally recommended adolescent vaccines. Decent article lays out the situation, with fairly brief suggestions on how to fix the problem. UK government policy on UFOs. In response to a parliamentary question on the UK Ministry of Defence policy on reporting unidentified aerial phenomena and whether new material had been classified on the subject since the UK's declassification program. The MOD's response, their position on UFOs or UAPs, remains unchanged, which is that in over 50 years, no sighting reported to the department has indicated the existence of any military threat to the United Kingdom. Telepathy tapes prove we all want to believe. A new podcast series, 7 one-hour episodes, documents a journalist's journey to demonstrate that non-verbal autistic children have supernatural abilities and can visit heaven. This long article reviews the evidence. Quote, "It's important to maintain compassion for the parents who find themselves in the middle of this, but real answers on the topic of psi phenomena will not be arrived at through wishful thinking. Rigor should be de rigueur." End quote. New Jersey overtaken by mysterious drones. There's a lot of reporting on this, and a lot of people are mystified. Robert Bartholomew isn't convinced. Perennial self-publicist Uri Geller says the sightings are a warning to Earth with a, quote, show of power and superior tech, end quote. And speaking of Geller, a different journalist looks back on a 1970s meeting with Geller. At first impressed, later, after a meeting with Randi, not so much. And in late news, our friend Mick West has produced a video on the topic that is well worth watching. British royals dabbling in the paranormal. The British royal family has long been intrigued by the paranormal, with members such as Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth II seeking contact with the afterlife through psychics and seances. This short piece could do with more detail, assuming the details it does have are accurate. The December issue of The Skeptic is at the printers, and digital copies are out. It features a look at the not-so-normal mind. But what is normal? Exploding heads, memory issues, therapists, psychometrics, as well as a history of the Skeptics Challenge, a history of manifesting, dangerous treatments, and much more. New subscriptions start with the next issue, but you can also order a copy of the most recent one as a treat. Contact the editor if you're not sure if your existing subscription needs renewing. Learn more about our magazine and subscribe now at www.skeptics.com.au. Skeptics in Action. If you have any ideas for stories or want to contribute to Skeptics communications, such as the magazine or Facebook page, or just have something you want to get off your chest, then you're welcome to get in touch. News leads should be sent to newstips@skeptics.com.au. Submissions for the magazine, etc., and comments and suggestions should go to editor@skeptics.com.au. Items of interest. Investigating a demon house portal to hell. Ooh, sounds interesting. Now, if you want to spend an empty half hour, this video looks at, quote, the chilling history and paranormal activity of the Bel Air House in Ohio, with a dark past including 11 portals reportedly opened by fake mediums, end quote. Piglet gets revenge. No, not Winnie the Pooh's companion, but a movie about someone named Piglet who takes a violent reaction to paranormal investigators who kill his pet pig. Security camera captures Christmas decoration come to life. You'd better watch out what you put beneath the tree. If it moves, it's not reindeer droppings. Psychics event cancelled. Due to unforeseen circumstances, of course. Okay, state the obvious, everyone else is. Silliest story of the week. What is Christmas like in heaven? Well, this is just bizarre. Psychic Bonnie Page quotes disreputable psychic Sylvia Brown. In heaven, everyone gives presents to Jesus, and heaven is covered in warm and fluffy snow. Warm snow. That's interesting. They should send some of that to Calgary. Too bad for non-Christians, who will be mightily disappointed, as will people from the Southern Hemisphere. If you want to finally get a white Christmas, all you have to do is die. Oh, that's dark. Well, that's all for the newsletter. And to bring in the holiday season, I thought I would talk about mummering and mummers. Mummering is a Christmas tradition that I learned about when I was visiting Newfoundland and Labrador a few years ago. It apparently is also practiced in Philadelphia and parts of the UK. And what is mummering, you may ask? Well, a group of friends or family will get together and dress up in a disguise and visit homes in their community for the 12 days of Christmas. If the group is invited into the house, then they break out in performances such as dancing, playing music, making jokes, or reciting stories. But part of the game is that the hosts must attempt to guess who the mummers are. Once the hosts guess correctly, they spend some time with their hosts, then travel as a group to the next house to repeat the performance. And I think that sounds like a wonderful way to bring in the festive season. It reminds me of Halloween for December. If you decide this sounds like something you want to try this year, or if you already partake in this tradition, may your mummering merriment make marvelous memories as you march into the new year. And this is Adrienne Hill wishing you all a happy holiday and signing off from Skookum Studios.
G'day, Dr. Carl here, popping up on your beloved Richard Saunders podcast, inviting you to follow me on TikTok where things are much faster. And it all has to happen in a minute or less. So, why do diet drinks get you drunker? For example, a rum and diet cola versus a rum and regular cola. Why do we hear the ocean in a seashell? Is coffee good or bad for you? With regard to farts, what happens when you hold them in, and why do farts smell worse in the shower? And the old wooden spoon, as used in cooking, does have a very porous surface, so in terms of bacteria, is it safe to use? And of course, we all know that destiny shapes our ends, but so do the natural electrical fields that we generate, and marijuana munchies might be related to a 500 million-year-old mutation that makes eating enjoyable via our natural cannabinoids that our body makes. Just follow me on TikTok at Dr. Carl, DRKARL, to find out the answer to all these questions and more.
As mentioned on the last episode of the Skeptic Zone, the new issue of The Skeptic, the journal from Australian Skeptics, is out, at least in digital form, and shortly will be on the way physically to those people who subscribe to the physical issue. And one of the stories in the current issue is called Challenging Times. And this is a report by Tim Mendham. Skeptics have been offering financial incentives to paranormal claimants for close to 200 years. Tim Mendham looks back at some of those putting their money where their mouths are. So as a bit of a teaser, I thought I would read to you my contribution to this report. And this is to do with some of the challenges I've been involved with over the years. And this is entitled Richard Saunders' Skeptical Challenge. Over the past 25 years, I've had the opportunity of being involved in numerous preliminary tests for the Australian Skeptics Challenge, as well as for the James Randi Educational Foundation's, JREF, $1 million prize in the 2010s, where I served on the committee that met annually in Las Vegas. What stands out most from these experiences is how deeply fascinating these challenges are from a psychological perspective. The people we encountered, whether mediums, palm readers, mystics claiming the ability to see inside the human body, clairvoyants asserting they could perceive objects through walls or across continents, energy healers, inventors of devices like power bands, and, perhaps most commonly, water diviners, were all captivating in their own way. In my judgment, most of them were genuinely sincere in their beliefs. While some accepted their failure with grace, others outright denied, often later on, that they had failed at all. One participant even claimed that the test he failed had in reality confirmed his device worked. As Randi once told me, no amount of failure can shake the conviction of someone truly committed to their beliefs, a sentiment I've seen proven time and again. Running a challenge for a substantial prize, be it $100,000 in Australia or $1 million in the USA, requires a significant investment of time and energy. It's not just about understanding the claims being made. It's about negotiating and designing a mutually agreed upon test. At the amazing meeting in Las Vegas, for instance, our committee would spend days preparing for the on-stage challenge. Every detail had to be meticulously planned. Protocols were drafted, reviewed by everyone involved, including Randi, and only then signed off by the committee and the claimant. In some cases, we even had to recruit a team of volunteers for the test. Added to this was the formal statement, usually written by me, after hours sequestered in my hotel room, which was read at the start of each challenge. It's no exaggeration to say I often lost 1 kilo or 2 during these events simply from forgetting to eat as I dashed about from meeting to meeting. Then came the moment of truth, the live stage challenge. Like any major presentations, nerves were inevitable. We all felt the pressure, knowing how critical it was to execute a fair, rigorous test. You simply can't walk on stage and hope for the best. Every detail matters. Once the test concluded, a familiar scene unfolded. Critics from the audience eager to point out our perceived flaws. Whether the errors they highlighted were real or imagined, there was always someone ready to say how they would have done it differently. Some were, shall we say, strident in their criticism. After all that effort, all we wanted to do was find a nice quiet bar and toast the fact that it was over for another year. In both Australia and the JREF challenges, the rule of thumb for preliminary tests is, and was, to require the claimant to beat odds of roughly 1,000 to 1, comparable to guessing the roll of a 10-sided die 3 times in a row. If you had been a fly on the wall at one of our meetings around 2014, you would have heard serious discussion about whether we should lower that threshold to 500 to 1 or even 300 to 1. Since no one had passed the preliminary test since Randi's challenge began in 1964, we wondered if easing the odds might finally allow someone to succeed. The potential publicity of such an event was certainly tempting. I still wonder, had the challenge not ended in 2015, if we would have changed the criteria for passing, and whether it would have made any difference. Conducting a test for any paranormal power is not for the faint of heart. It can be nerve-wracking, time-consuming, frustrating, and, if you are not very careful, could blow up in your face if you don't nail down every aspect. And that was Richard Saunders' Skeptical Challenge as part of a wider, longer report by Tim Mendham about skeptical tests and challenges. And you can read that for yourself if you subscribe to the Skeptic magazine at skeptics.com.au.
Chris, what do you call 2 orthopedists reading an electrocardiogram?
I don't know, Jonathan.
A double-blind study. This is the type of highbrow medical humor you can expect from The Body of Evidence, the best podcast you're not listening to.
But we don't hold it against you.
We answer the burning medical questions of the day
By seeing what the data actually says.
because wild, unjustified pseudoscience is for the other guys.
Is it safe to take Tylenol when you're pregnant? Should we worry about microplastics harming us? Are there any dietary supplements that will help you perform better? Are the doggos all very good boys?
They are indeed very good boys.
The science on this is clear and unambiguous.
If you're getting your health advice from the Joe Rogan Experience, it may be time to come back to Earth and listen to The Body of Evidence.
Reality can be nice too. Come join us on this planet.
We also talk to experts, and there's a teddy bear.
There is. We also talk about dogs a lot.
They're better than humans.
The Body of Evidence.
Wherever you get your podcasts and at bodyofevidence.ca.
Now it's time once again to go back to those wonderful archives at Trove at trove.nla.gov.au. As the cockatoos are screeching outside the window, maybe they want to come in and read Trove too. The online resource from the Australian Government and the National Library of Australia, full of digital goodies. We have magazines and newspapers and periodicals and gazettes and all sorts of things going back into the 1800s. It's quite the resource. It is a wonderful, wonderful archive of Australian history as published in newspapers and so on. And for us it means an endless treasure trove of skeptical information that we are very interested in. It's wonderful to see it in historical context. And this week we're going to continue our little theme here of the new moon, and read about superstitions and the new moon in Australian published history. And we end up, first of all, in the year 1892. 1892, in a newspaper called the Queanbeyan Age. And Queanbeyan is near Canberra, the nation's capital. And this is dated the 12th of March in a section called Ladies' Column. Superstition defied. Ladies were invited by the famous 13 Club of New York to their dinner on May 13. The dinner began at 8:13. There were 13 tables, and at each table there were 13 guests. There were 13 courses, 13 kinds of wine, 13 toasts were given, and 13 minutes were allowed for each toast. That sounds like a lot of fun. The decorations, we are told, were of the most gruesome character. Skulls, coffins, new moons, there's the reference, drawings and statues of black cats adorned the tables. Each lady found a small glass coffin beside her plate, and upon lifting the lid of which she found a tiny scent bottle, the stopper of which was shaped like a skull. Many prominent literary ladies and ladies in society were present on the occasion. The dinner was a brilliant affair. Merriment reigned at each small table. What fun it would have been to travel back in time and attend that dinner. Now, published in the Inverell Times from New South Wales on the 29th of September 1943. New Moon Superstitions. Perhaps the oldest of false religions was the worship of the moon. One remnant of the worship which continues with us today is the superstitious custom of doing this or that when the new moon appears. If you want to avoid trouble, perhaps loss of money or death during the month after seeing the new moon, you must not see it through glass. There are people who, when told that the new moon is visible, will close their eyes and grope their way about the house until they open a door and reach a point where they can glimpse the new moon without the intervention of window or glass door. Many of these superstitious folk, after glancing at the faint crescent in the sky, will bow and exclaim, "God bless the new moon." And if they have money which is gettable in pocket or purse, they will turn it over that there may be more to turn over during the month. Who knew? And now let's go to the Pastoral Times, dated the 21st of November 1908. We're bouncing all around the decades today. New Moon Superstitions. Many events are attributable to the new moon. One certain rule, however, is that, quote, "To see the moon in your breast for a month, you'll know no rest," end quote. In other words, it is not well to meet the moon face to face. In fact, it is only 1 degree less dangerous than to see it first through glass. The superstition of kissing the hand to the moon 7 times and making 3 wishes while doing so does away with a great deal of the evil of seeing the moon over the wrong shoulder. And besides, the 3 wishes may come true. It is considered very lucky to attain the first sight of the new moon over your right shoulder or straight before you. Then everything that you undertake will prosper till the end of the moon. 3 curtsies dropped to the new moon in the open air will be sure to bring a present before the week is over. Money turned in the pocket will ensure the success in business undertaking. Friday's moon, come when it will, comes too soon. Saturday is also considered a bad day for the new moon. And on a similar sort of theme here, from 1934, on the 25th of March, in the Sunday Mail from Brisbane, Queensland. New Moon Superstition. Many people, when they see a new moon for the first time, turn over a coin. They may not know that they are doing three things. They symbolize the rise and fall of the tide. They ensure good fortune by pleasing Iris, the mother of all gods, and they are observing a custom of people of ancient Egypt and Arabia. The early peoples who lived near water believed that Iris controlled the tides. By turning over a coin when her symbol of the new moon or a crescent was seen, they acknowledged her power over water. Thus, they pleased the goddess and ensured for themselves good luck. And finally, we go to the Queensland Figaro from Brisbane, and this is dated in the year 1924, the 14th of June. The new moon. There is a very ancient superstition which says that it is possible to tell the approximate character of a child by the number of days it was born after the appearance of a new moon. The following are the most important indications. I hope you're all going to be taking notes. 1. If born within 24 hours after a new moon, the child will live to a good old age, and practically everything he undertakes in life will be successful. 2. If born within 2 days after the new moon, the child will be fortunate practically in accidental things. That's a strange thing to be. 3. If upon the third day, this person will achieve success largely through the help and assistance of others. 4. If born upon the fourth day, the child will not be so successful in life and may have several serious illnesses. 5. Born on the fifth day, such a person will prove successful if care be taken to start certain enterprises at certain times. All right. 6. This is not a good day, as a rule. Dreams are untrustworthy. 7. This day's child will have many troubles, but will conquer them all. 8. Success. Dreams will prove helpful, and lost articles found. 9. A very good day. Riches and honour await the child born this day. 10. Unfavourable on the whole, especially to boys. 11. A long, happy life for those born this day. 12. All dreams of this child will prove true quickly. 13. Fortune. Favours you ask will be granted. 14. A very mixed life. Both fortune and misfortune await you. 15. Fortunate for some, the practical business-like persons. Unfortunate for others. 16. Not a good day. Do not marry on the anniversary of this day if possible. 17. A manly man, a chaste, beautiful woman, is the prognostication of those born this day. 18. Danger awaits one born today. Beware must be his ever-present motto. 19. A healthy, strong body, but a rebellious, hard mind unless care be used to strengthen and purify it. 20. Cheerful, much beloved, will be the child born this day. 21. A wandering disposition, restless, unhappy because of this. 22. An unfortunate day. Great care must be exercised in all things undertaken. 23. Honour and fame will come to him born this day. Your dreams will often help you. 24. A cheerful, sweet disposition is given to the child born this day. 25. Be careful of illnesses. Do not believe in dreams. 26. This child will have many hardships but will come through all of them well. 27. Unfortunate as a rule, but you might also make a great success. 28. If born before the moon, many good things will befall. If born after that hour, beware that these good things do not prove your ruin. Well, there we are. A lesson for us all and superstitions I've never heard of. That's interesting. Maybe. I mean, I don't often notice the phases of the moon. Sometimes I wander out and I see the moon, but it doesn't immediately occur to me that it's in this phase or that phase. The full moon. The full moon is one you notice more than anything else. I would suspect. Maybe you're the same yourself. Full moons, new moons, old moons, moon river, blue moon, and the moon is a balloon. And once again, it just goes to show that when you go to Trove and do your search, you never know. You never know what moony things you might find. Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. And thank you again as we edge towards the end of the year. Thank you to my Patreons and PayPal people who subscribe or contribute to the Skeptic Zone via PayPal or Patreon. Much appreciated and necessary. The reason that you're hearing this is because you contribute. If you don't contribute, thank you for listening anyway. And we all should thank those people who do, be it $5 a month or $10 a month. Not very much, but collectively it means I can keep the Skeptic Zone out there. And thank you very much to my wonderful reporters all over the place, especially in Canada, who supply so many reports to the Skeptic Zone. But for this week, this is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for episodes and show notes with links going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone on Facebook, X, TikTok and YouTube by clicking the links at our homepage, together with links to support the show financially via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily those of the Skeptic Zone podcast or any other skeptical organisation.
Now,
Henny going to play?
Are Maud and Henny going to play? Well,
Look at those Stremchi Pete's.
yes.
She went with 4.
Yeah. Henrietta is on the cat post. Hello. You want to say something to the Skeptic Zone audience? She did. And Maud is behind the curtain chasing leaves which are blowing in the wind because we've had a windy day. Maud. Here she comes. Maud, do you want to scratch? Do you want to scratch? Maud? No, she's thinking, what is that microphone? Here. Anyway, Maud and Henrietta are here, as well as Lara Benham. Hello, Lara.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for the superstitions earlier. That was interesting stuff. It's time to play the dice game with the Skeptic Zone cats, who are semi-interested in what we're doing. If you wouldn't mind taking the notes. Let's see. We're going to roll it 4 times. It's a D10, 10-sided die. My guesses are 5 for Susan.
Oh. I thought that was a 5 and then 4.
4, I'll go with that. 5, 4, 9, and 8.
Okay. I'm going to go with 2, 4, 6, 10. 10?
10. All right. Well, you may do the honours.
do it.
Oh, I can do it. Do you want to do it, Henrietta?
Paperwork.
Do you want to do it? No. Okay. No. The other one's gone out to look out the window.
Right, so first roll, we're looking for a 2 and a 5.
Here we go.
2 or a 5.
9. Congratulations to all those people who chose 9. Here comes the next roll. We're looking for a 4.
Or a 4.
Or a 4.
3.
Not doing so well so far. Roll 3, we're looking for a 6 or a 9. 10.
I just got those.
Well, we're close. And the last roll, here it comes, a supplementary. We're looking for a 10 and an 8, but we got a 2.
Dire. Nothing.
Dire dice. Today's winning numbers are 9, 3, 10, and 2.
Not one number. Nothing.
Just give up. We're not psychic.
And this is going to have to be edited because I'm going to need to say this properly. But Frigga, Tresca, Dicka... No, that's all right. Put that at the end.
Frigga, Tristra, Dicka...
Frigga... No, I've got this. Frigga, Trisca, Decaphobia.